It is Friday, August 23rd, and this week has been pretty eventful in the political world. In this video, I'll be discussing two main things that did occur in this week of United States politics, which will include RFK's potential dropout, which should be happening today, the endorsement of Donald Trump, as well as the undertaking of the DNC, and all that happened down there. But before we get started on this video, please subscribe to my channel, like my content, and leave all your comments and suggestions in the section below. There hasn't been much polling to update since the DNC because it just ended. So I won't be focusing on too many numbers in this video because we do not have updates yet. But just a little bit of an update on where we're at right now. It's pretty much the same thing as my last video. Harris leads by around 1.5 percentage points. The last poll released by Rasmussen, which does update their averages every day actually, has Trump up by 3. Morning Consult has Harris up by 4, and then so on and so forth. Usually after a Democratic or Republican national convention, the party that did have the convention will see a slight bump, sometimes more a major bump, like Trump and the RNC this time around had a pretty good bump. But this time around for the DNC, it doesn't seem like the atmosphere intends that there will be a bump. Maybe if there's some more response bias, there will be a bump, but I don't see too much of that. I mean, the poly market does reflect it. Trump was up even by around 7 percentage points. It did come back down now to a tie. And right now we have this kind of map that we're looking at, one that is close to my prediction. We have Nevada and Arizona in Trump's column narrowly. We have Georgia and North Carolina firmly in his column. He's up in Pennsylvania by a bit, and then Harris leads Michigan by quite a considerable amount, and then Wisconsin is also pretty close there in Harris's column. So I do expect that the DNC, in my opinion, will not have too much of an effect on this race because Harris is already experiencing her surge, you might want to call it, from Biden's dropout, all that momentum that she did have. I'm not sure if there's much more that she could win over because, well, to begin with, I don't even think there's too many undecided voters. I think most voters in this election have already made up their mind. And that leads me into my next thing, which is the RFK withdrawal. And it's supported by the fact that he just withdrew from Arizona's ballot. He was on Arizona's ballot, and now he has withdrawn from that. And it does mean that he is likely to end his presidential bid. And I think that RFK will end up dropping out today. He is supposed to make a speech, and Donald Trump is also supposed to make a speech at around a similar time. And Donald Trump also said he has a special guest that he is going to be bringing onto the stage with him. And, you know, we all probably are thinking the same thing. This might be RFK. I'm not going to assume that it is, but I think that it will end up being RFK. He's supposed to make that speech in just a little bit from now today, and I will be making a video addressing that in the following few days. And we will end up seeing some changes from that because RFK has been decreasing in his support, but he still has support in this country. I think even like a few million people still would support him. And we usually would say that the RFK supporters are mostly taking away votes from Democrats and Republicans, and that was the case versus a Trump v. Biden matchup. He was taking over more votes from Joe Biden than Donald Trump, but now it seems like the opposite has happened. Most of those Democrats, not most, but maybe a lot of them that were unhappy with Joe Biden have just come back to Kamala Harris, and that's why her numbers have been inflated a little bit. Meanwhile, Trump's numbers, they haven't gone down. He has not lost any support. He has not really lost the support of many independents. It's just the fact that the Democrats have gone home. And I think this move is going to really pay off for Trump a little bit. Even 1% of voters going back to Trump would swing the election. For example, we have states like the states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan that are going to be decided maybe by less than 1%. I mean, we maybe have the state of Pennsylvania being decided by a few thousand votes. So the fact that 1% of voters might be going to Trump instead of Harris would maybe even make out a win or loss map. I mean, he did poll at 5% support in a poll conducted by Marist earlier this month. And there was actually some data conducted on where his supporters split now. We could see that usually now when we look at polls, Trump does better in the two-way than in the five-way. And we can see in a poll taken by JLL Partners and Daily Mail, among RFK Jr. supporters, Trump leads 51% to 26%. So here, if RFK Jr. is getting 5%, Trump gets half of that, and it will add 2.5 points to Trump's share. And if Trump gets 2.5%, and let's say Kamala Harris gets 1, Trump will gain 1.5 percentage point on the national average, which will close that gap to an exact tie. And what that is my prediction for the election, that the popular vote necessarily will be a little bit of a tie. Right now I have Kamala Harris winning the popular vote by less than like half a percentage point, which indicates almost a dead tie. And I think that a main reason for this mainly happening is because of that support from RFK going to Trump. I had suspected that RFK would end up dropping out because he is under that 5 percentage point threshold in many of those polls released nowadays, which means that he won't get too much support. I think he's running out of money. He's running out of funds. And after seeing that Kamala Harris is being taken away less support than Donald Trump, he will most likely drop out. I think he does align with Trump more. I mean, his running mate Shanahan did go on, and she did say that there's one of two choices: them either staying in and risking a Kamala Harris win, or they drop out and side forces with Donald Trump. So it seems like the Kennedy-Shanahan ticket is more sided with Trump, and Trump has come out and said that he would put Kennedy in his cabinet. We're just gonna have to wait and see. We're also gonna have to wait and see on some polling that we do expect from the post-DNC. And I think is going to still favor Harris, the popular vote, but by probably a little bit less. We're going to have to wait for RFK to be removed from those choices of picks so that we can put more accurate results up here. I think it's important that we take a look at my prediction post the DNC, and it does align with the polls, but the margins are definitely different. For example, in Arizona, I don't predict it'll be that close. Georgia's pretty spot on. Michigan, definitely too much towards the left. Nevada, I think it's too much towards the right. North Carolina, I think it's going to be more right. Pennsylvania, more right. And then Wisconsin, obviously the most inaccurate state being polled. Checking out these days in history, we have Biden at +5, Clinton at 11.5%. I mean, this state in 2016 and 2020 was less than 1 percentage point back in the day, and we can see here Biden was supposed to win by upwards of 7. He ended up winning by less than 1. But either way, besides the state of Wisconsin, I do believe in these same projections. My map right now stands at 297 to 241. In my previous video, I had Michigan as being red, but I think right now, since the polls look strong for her, and since she is going to perform the best in the most liberal state apart from Minnesota in this Rust Belt, she will probably right now flip the state by less than half a percentage point. However, Trump is still looking strong in these other states, especially Pennsylvania. The data in Pennsylvania does project that he will win by a narrow amount. The past 3 have had him up by the exact same amount, and they've all been sampling similar likely voter samples. I do think Trump is favored in Pennsylvania, and just the fact of him winning Pennsylvania does in fact mean that he doesn't even need the state of Wisconsin or Arizona or Nevada. But this is my map right now, and the reason why I would even keep Pennsylvania and Wisconsin in this column post DNC is because the DNC itself was not strong at all. The DNC was pretty mediocre. And I see some people commenting on it. I've seen a lot of people comment on it. I've talked to some people about it. Most of them either have a neutral stance on it or a negative stance on it. I have not met a person yet that does tell me that they're moved in a positive way by this. I mean, it was very unorganized to begin with. The whole speech consisted of, and the whole DNC, every speech consisted of how bad Trump is. Trump, I think, was measured at like 207 times his name being said in, either one of the days. I forgot what it was. Maybe it was all the days combined. But either way, Trump was measured at plus 200 times in the economy and immigration and all those issues, democracy. All of them were mentioned a lot less. Like probably for every time that an economy or an immigration name is being called out, the Trump name is being called out around 10 times. I think I read a number that showed on DNC day 1, Trump was said around like 140 times, and the economy was said like 13 times, like less than 20, I know for sure. But that's the problem for the DNC. That's what they have. That's the problem that they have, is they're running on the fact that you should hate their opponent. And the reason why they're doing that is because most people disapprove of Joe Biden's job as president. So if they disapprove Joe Biden's job as president, they would disapprove of Kamala Harris's job as vice president, since she is part of the same administration. They're going off the fact that they need to, save this and save that, make the economy stronger. She's going to do this. She's going to do this for abortion. She's going to protect democracy. And the fact that they want to make it better, but they've been already in charge for 4 years. We were under the impression that Joe Biden made the economy better and the economy is so great. But now Kamala Harris comes out and says that, she's going to make the economy better once again. It all doesn't make sense. And the whole audience, I think, is falling into that idea that they just dislike Trump so much that they just want to vote for anybody but Trump. And that's mainly where that base is coming from. You have obviously the Democrats, the around 30-something% that'll support you no matter what, because that's how American politics are nowadays, right or left. If just because they have a D or an R in their name, you're going to support them no matter what. So that's probably like 33 percentage points of the country. And then you have some independents, left-leaning independents, some center independents that are probably in favor of Kamala Harris just because they don't like Donald Trump. They voted against him in 2020, and they're planning on voting against him again in 2024. And that's basically where you get a lot of her support from. I'm sure there are some people that like her for her policies. Some people that might agree with her on her abortion policies. Some people might agree with her on the democracy policy, whatever that means. Once again, not much detail to what that means exactly, because she was the one who was brought into power without a single vote. So I'm just looking forward to them debating and see where that goes and how the polling is going to shape up after that. But either way, a major reason why I keep this map still favorable for Trump, 297 to 241, is because Kamala Harris still has not even released some of her policies. In fact, she hasn't released most of her policies at all. You can go to her homepage and you won't even see a list of policies that are available to you. And people know this. People aren't going to fall for, the fact that you don't show your policies. So this is one major problem that she does have that, kind of goes against the idea that it's all because you want to get out Trump. All of the fact revolving around the fact that, Trump is bad and all that. But Democrats do need to side with her in some sort of policy. So, I hope we're going to see some of that soon. Maybe she'll come out with some policies. The only policies that I remember her coming out are ones from Trump. For example, no tax on tips. Trump created that policy, that potential policy, and then soon later she realized it was popular. She took it and she decided to implement it into her own campaign, just stuff like that. And clearly we can see that the election is shaping up to be that Trump's policies are definitely more important and more favorable. However, Trump's personality himself is maybe the only reason that's holding him back from winning by an even larger margin. Because on paper, if you put Trump versus Kamala, just straight facts, policies, Trump, it wouldn't even be close. I think Trump would even be winning states like Minnesota and Virginia. But you've got to also take into the fact that Trump does have something about him that many people do not like, and he has the opposite effect of people who like him. You either love him or hate him, and that's what the thing is with this election. That's what it was last election. There was a lot of anti-Trump vote for Biden. I think that's mainly the reason why he won in the suburbs, especially with women, how they didn't really like Trump as a person, as his personality. But either way, I think nowadays Trump has been viewed a lot more positively. He definitely has. His favorables have gone up considerably since last time. I think he was minus 15 in 2020, and nowadays his favorables are minus 8. So he cut that in half, which is a vast improvement for him. And that's basically going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment down in the section below, and I'll check you guys out in the next one.